And welcome back, everyone, to Redskins Relaunch, DMVSTREAM.COM, Facebook Live. I'm your host tonight, Colvin Underwood, sitting in for Winston Hilton. And I've been pontificating and talking about the NFL draft and what it means to Washington. And let's go to Facebook, where Todd Booth says that he wants Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins. One person's name that now you're starting to see some movement on everybody's mock draft. So all the mock drafts that you've seen from the end of the season up until now had it in stone that the Giants were going to take Haskins at 6. It would be perfect. He'll get a chance to. New York Mail will try the Kansas City experiment, where they get a young quarterback and have him sit behind a veteran for a year or two, and then bring him out, and hopefully he'll have success. That particular rookie would have success like Patrick Mahomes had success in Kansas City behind Alex Smith. But we know that Mahomes is a generational talent, so that's a lot to ask for. But the ideal is pretty good, that your rookie quarterback can kind of soak up what it's like to be a pro from one of the best. And Eli Manning, in his prime, was a pretty good quarterback. Maybe not so much now, but it looks like the Giants are going to roll with Eli through the duration of his contract. I believe he has a couple more years left on his deal. They got rid of OBJ. Why? But New York's got their own thing, and Eli is a big part of that. And it seemed like at 6 was the perfect spot for Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins from Bullis High School, committed to Maryland, decommitted, went to Ohio State, sat for a year at Ohio State, did his thing last year, and just tore up the Big Ten. Absolutely tore it up. And put himself in position to be one of the quarterbacks taken in this draft. But now the question becomes, where do you take Dwayne Haskins? And is Dwayne Haskins, if Kyler Murray is the first quarterback to go off the board, it would make sense that Dwayne Haskins would probably be the second quarterback. But wait. There's some movement now that says maybe Drew Lock is the second quarterback to come off the board. And then maybe that Dwayne Haskins stock might fall, and that Lock and Haskins might flip. Drew Lock, spread quarterback, University of Missouri, set all these, I believe Drew Lock is the number one passer in the SEC. I think he broke any records that was out there in his last season in Missouri. Tall, big, strong-arm quarterback, plays in the spread system. Doesn't everybody play in the spread system? Definitely has that kind of skill set that you think if he gets into the right system, he might be an attractive quarterback in the NFL. So, Dwayne Haskins, not the quarterback for the New York Football Giants. Interesting, very interesting. I think this is where the draft gets kind of wacky, right? I think this is where the draft gets kind of wacky, because now if Haskins doesn't go to New York at 6, how far does he fall? How far does he fall? I mean, Oakland wouldn't take a quarterback, would they? Would Oakland take a quarterback? They've got Derek Carr. They've got a ton of picks. Oakland might want to wait until they might want to get a quarterback in the back half of the first round. But if they like Haskins, they have the ammunition to move up, or if they really like him, they could take him at 4. They got the 4th pick in the draft. So you look at some mocks now, and you don't see Dwayne Haskins with New York anymore. Remember, we talked about how defensive driven the draft was, Now you see in a couple of drafts that maybe it's Miami. Miami who needs a quarterback. Miami who a lot of people think might tank this year to get a shot at a better quarterback next year in a draft that's going to be a lot deeper in quarterbacks in the first round. Lo and behold, if New York doesn't draft Dwayne Haskins and there's a run on defensive players, and there's going to be a run on defensive players, maybe Jawan Taylor, the offensive tackle from Florida, he's considered the best offensive tackle that's out there. You can see him going probably in the first 7 or 8 picks. He's just that good and that dominant. He, the blind side left tackles don't grow on trees, and he's a pretty good one. So you can see somebody that would need him. And then defense. Would Denver take Dwayne Haskins? They have Joe Flacco. John Elway's looking for a young quarterback. So in a couple of the mocks, you see Dwayne Haskins now is popping up with Miami. Maybe he'll pop up with Cincinnati, who has Andy Dalton. This would be a great time for them to get another quarterback. New head coach there, likes to throw the ball around. Very interesting. So here comes the question then. If New York doesn't take Dwayne Haskins, and if it's a run on defensive players like we think there might be in that first 10 to 12 picks, could Dwayne Haskins be available at 15? Didn't look like it before, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now, if you look at some of the mocks out there, you see Haskins falling a little bit. We're not saying he's going to fall out of the first round. He's still a first-round talent. He's still getting a first-round grade. But now, if Haskins is down there, does Washington pull the trigger? And does he fit all the checks for Washington? For a team that needs some good PR, for a team that needs to get their fan base kind of re-energized in the team, maybe Dwayne Haskins is the person you want to get. Local kid, good kid, comes from Ohio State, was coached up pretty good by Ohio State head coach Ryan Day, when Ryan Day was offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach for Urban Meyer. Maybe he fits the bill. And so now you ask yourself, if Dwayne Haskins is there, and you have all these other needs that you think you can do, and we all agree that 15, you're going to be able to fill needs, do you take Dwayne Haskins? And you check that box, you got your young quarterback, you want to throw him in there and compete, fine. You want him to sit for a minute, fine. But to have a local kid at quarterback for Washington, it's a pretty good look. Might be able to get some of the heat off of the team. But if you take Dwayne Haskins and you take him in the first round, does the expectation become, well, we got to play the kid because of all the things I just mentioned? Because he's a good kid, because he's from Bullis, because he's local. I mean, we got to play this guy, right? That's what the fans are going to want. They're going to want to see this guy out there. If we pick him, it's an interesting dilemma. And so we see how volatile the draft can be, in that sometimes you just don't know what it's going to go. Or sometimes you don't know what your team is thinking. You have no idea. So Dwayne Haskins, look like he's going down the board. We talked about Drew Lock. Looks like he might be going up the board. Could it be that Kyler Murray is the first quarterback taken in the draft? And then from pick 2 to pick 12, 13, 14, 15, there's no other quarterbacks taken. So at 15, you could have Dwayne Haskins on the board and Drew Lock on the board. Then what you gonna do? You're going to go by your board, and you're going to go by your grades, and you're going to go by your tape, and you're going to depend on your scouts to give you the right answer. And then Jay Gruden's going to have some input as well. You know, who would he like to see? If they want to go quarterback at all, who would he want? Who does he think more coachable? Who does he think he can plug in if need be? Who do you think is more NFL ready? Is it Drew Lock, multiple year starter at Missouri, comes from a spread offense? Is it Dwayne Haskins, a 1-year starter at Ohio State in a pro-style offense? Productivity from both, but Locke gives you a little bit more tape, a lot more tape than Dwayne Haskins does. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Remember, 8 days away, Nashville. Who's the pick gonna be? I say take the best player available. Take the best player available. If you think a quarterback's the best player available on your board, take him. If it's an offensive lineman, take him. If it's one of those wide receivers, take him. You want to go D-line? You want to go get you another pass rusher to put with Kerrigan? Take him. If you want to improve your defensive secondary with a young safety, another young safety that can learn from Collins, another Alabama guy I forgot, or you want a corner, take him. Whatever you want is going to be there. Whatever's going to benefit this football team, there's going to be a player there that's going to benefit this team. What do you want? Got to make up your mind. And I think they have a pretty good idea. I think for Washington, it's just a matter of who's going to be there. I really don't think that they need players. Excuse me. They need players. So I don't really see them trading out. I can see them trading back to get more picks. I can see that. Because that part of the draft is going to be deep. It's going to be deep in defensive players. You're going to be able to get some players. Even if you move back a little bit, you can get some players. But if I was them, I would probably stay at 15 and get an impact guy. I think you're going to get a better player at 15 than you would at 27 or 33 or 34. If you want to take that pick and package it with one of your third-round picks, get up in that top 10, go for it. Just pick right, because this draft's important for Washington. They're going to need some rookie contracts. So when the hit from the Alex Smith contract subsides in a couple years, you want to be in position to have some guys on rookie contracts, and then you're going to be able to want to free up some cap space and be able to make some moves. So I could see them holding on to these picks and just kind of picking the best that they can pick. Let's switch gears real quick. Let's talk about the Washington Capitals. They got blown out the other night in Carolina, 5-0. The young boys from Carolina were just buzzing all over the place. They said the atmosphere in Raleigh was crazy. And, tailgating, hours and hours before the game. They were pretty well lubricated before the game, and they said that place was pretty loud. So hostile environment. But the Caps have been there, done that. Game 3. I like their record in Game 3 is abysmal, right? I think they're under 500 in Game 3s, and so Game 3 is not really their jam, and that's just the way it is. I would be shocked if I'm going to go ahead and put it like this. I don't think Carolina's going to beat them on Thursday. I think Washington's going to come back and have a strong performance and kind of figure out what they need to figure out and kind of put the, if you can get up 3-1 on these guys, kind of put pressure on the young guys from Carolina and get their backs up against the wall. You don't want to give this crew any life, because at 2-2 you give them life and they have confidence coming back to Cap 1. And then again, I wonder this as well. I wonder if Washington is peaking. If they peeked over to the other side of the bracket and saw that there are two nemesis, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Tampa Bay Lightning, which won, 62 games, broke the record all these points, President's Trophy winners got swept by Columbus. And how about Barry Trotz and the New York Islanders taking it to the Pittsburgh Penguins? That was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to see. I feel really good for Barry Trotz. If you didn't know he could coach, he could coach. And he was a pretty good coach at Nashville before he got to Washington, and just never got the breaks in Nashville to get to the Cup. Had Cup quality talent in Nashville, but just didn't get the breaks. And so I thought Washington was very fortunate to get a coach of his caliber to come here. And yeah, they faced some adversity, but they won the Cup last year. And he gets rewarded by getting, taking a deal with the Islanders. So of course, if Washington does go ahead and win against Carolina, they got the Islanders next. How juicy would that be? But first things first, they have to kind of clean up the defensive end, put some pucks, they got to start putting some pucks on the net and kind of getting back to some old school hockey. Dump the puck, chase, back check, forecheck. Do what the Capitals do. Don't get caught up in playing, Carolina's game. And I think Washington realizes that. I mean, they had a bad game. Even great teams have bad games. Ask the Warriors. They lost a 31-point lead the other night to the Clippers. So in the playoffs, anything can happen, but you don't want to give this young team any kind of momentum. And I really think Washington will tighten up the screws on Thursday and give you that kind of effort that you're looking for from the team, because they're just too good to play that lousy and not to have any shots on goal and to lose 5-0 on the road. That's not Caps hockey. That's not what we expect from the Caps at all. But it will be interesting. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get one of those good old 3-2 double overtime games that the Caps like to torment us with in the postseason. We're due for a good one of those 3-3, 2 overtime games. That's what the Caps do. So maybe Thursday they'll give us that on the road. One of those games that will break the spirit of the Carolina Hurricanes and turn the series around and see if the Caps can't close it out in Game 5 in Washington. But we got to get to Game 4 first, and we'll see. So I'm excited about it. I know everybody in the city is excited about it. They're going to actually have a viewing party at Capital One Arena for Game 4. If you've never done that, do it. It's very cool. I got a chance to be at the Stanley Cup winning game. When they played Vegas, they opened up Cap One, and it was packed. It was packed, and it was loud, and being able to watch the game on the big screen was so cool. So if you get a chance to do that, you might want to check that out. It looks like it's going to be that way as long as they're in the playoffs. It looks like they're going to open up Cap One when they're on the road and have viewing parties and stuff. Very festive. It's kind of weird. It's hockey in the springtime. It's going to be like 70, 80 degrees. The weather's turned now. And, we're in that warm spring, kind of early summer kind of vibe. And they're playing hockey. And this is just the first round. So you got, 3 more rounds to get to the Stanley Cup. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to take our minds off the Nationals, who have been very sluggish so far this season. Not Anthony Rendon. He's tearing the cover off the ball. Robles and Soto are doing their thing like you knew they would. But the starting pitching for the Nationals, you've got to be concerned about. We know the bullpen is the bullpen. But if the bullpen's the weakest part of the team, then you thought the starting pitching would be the strongest part of the team. And it looks like the guys are having a hard time keeping the ball inside the yard. Scherzer, Sanchez, Strasburg, giving up home runs. Now, power pitchers like Strasburg and Scherzer, you expect them because they pitch up in the zone and they throw so hard, they might give up some home runs. But when your starters, these guys you depend on to go at least 6-7 innings are giving up 3, 4, 5 runs and 2 or 3 home runs, that's not the kind of way you want to start the season. The season's long, and we know they got a way to go, but it looks like Philadelphia's for real. And it looks like the Mets are going to be a lot more competitive. And you know Atlanta's going to be in the mix. So you got 3 other teams just in the division that you're going to have to battle with, that you're even with. You're even with those guys, right? And your starting pitching can tilt the balance towards you. But you can't do that if you're getting in these 6-5 games and 7-6 games and, 8-6 games, and Scherzer and Strasburg and Sanchez are only going 5 or 6 innings. Patrick Corbin's proven to be a pretty good pickup. He might be your steadying force. He might be the guy that when you need a win, he might be that guy until everybody else kind of straightens out, because he's pitched pretty well this year. So Nats starting the season, series with the Giants. We'll just see what happens. We'll just have to kind of sit back and see if they are going to be a 500 team, if they're going to be above 500 team, or are they going to be a team that languishes a little bit below 500. It'd be interesting to see if they can kind of figure this thing out and get a little bit better. So I think that's going to do it for Redskins Relaunch on this Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us on Facebook Live. Thanks to Winston Hilton for letting me sit in and pontificate and run my mouth and talk about sports. Pure ball. I enjoy doing that. Thanks to Derek on the 1s and 2s. And thanks to you for joining us. DMVSTREAM.COM, Facebook Live. Every Wednesday, Redskins Relaunch. I'm Colvin Underwood. Thanks so much, and we will see you next Wednesday.
This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry.